Hi, this is Justin Smith. This is the Listen Now campaign, which is an initiative from Tobin Brothers Funerals. And they're doing such a good job with this because we need to be having better conversations around mental health, which is not an easy thing to do, to have those conversations. And it can be particularly hard when somebody is younger and they have never been through something like this, something stressful like this, something anxious like this. And I think our younger people are suffering particularly. So it's the reason I wanted to catch up with Dr. Michael Carr-Gregg, adolescent psychologist, author of many books on the subject and a real authority on it. Dr. Michael Carr-Gregg. Michael Carr-Gregg, good to see you, mate. Good to see your
Lovely
face.
to see you too. Thank you.
What it's been an incredibly hard time for a lot of people. What have they been saying to you? What's your read on the situation?
I think, Justin, this is the first time that our generation and our children's generation has ever been asked to make a significant sacrifice of their own time, personal freedoms for the greater good. And while my father's generation did that in spades, and his father's generation did, we're not used to it. And I think a lot of people, as a result of that, are really, really struggling.
I guess the other thing too is we don't know when we're going to come out the other side of this. You know, there's talk of dates, but we've been through that before where we've had a lockdown and then we've come back into it again. How much does that play on people that not seeing the end point?
I think it really stretches people's resilience, and young people in particular, and you know that's who I deal with most, need predictability and they need certainty. And we just haven't been able to give them that. And as a result, there's a kind of languishing that's occurred where they've become indifferent to their indifference. There's a dulling of delight. It's a void between depression and flourishing. And I see people every day who are just really flat. It is Groundhog Day. It's like eating porridge every day, and they're really over it. And I think that we need some hope, and we need it now. And I think that a lot of the decisions that have been made without due consideration to the mental health of the population. And I think that's been a mistake.
What does that hope need to look like?
So I'm practicing it in my own family, and I'm saying, check out our relatives in France who have learned to live with the virus. They're all waltzing around, sending me videos of them strolling down the Champs-Elysees, wandering into wine bars and coffee shops and munching on croissant, and flashing their iPhones to get in and out of stuff. And I guess that I need to recognize that that is our future. And they've got up to 6,000 cases a day, but they're treating it like the common flu. They no longer even report it, according to my rallies. So I guess that's the future that I'm looking at. I'm looking at the fact that the vaccination rates are increasing, that vaccine hesitancy seems to be dropping, that more and more people are coming round to the idea that there will be a time when we get some of our freedoms back.
Something I've noticed about this is that there seems to be people suffering from poor mental health that would never have expected themselves to suffer from poor mental health. Would I have that right? That's a feeling that I've got. You're going to know a lot more about it than I do, but they just never expected to feel this way.
Prior to COVID rocking along, 1 in 5 Australians had a mental illness. That is, they had thoughts, feelings, or behaviours that interfered with their day-to-day tasks, and that is duration. So it was for a long time, and it's intensity. That constitutes mental illness. Of those 1 in 5, not a lot of them were getting help. About 65% of them were not getting help. Now, because we're talking about it more, it's come to the forefront. And I think a lot of those people are recognizing how unwell they were and reaching out for help, which is a good thing. Who knew that COVID would have a silver lining like that?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But there were also people who were kind of languishing, who didn't have mental illness symptoms. But if you languish for long enough and if you don't have hope, that is a fertile soil for depression and anxiety and substance abuse to emerge. And I think that's what's happened. Add to that isolation, which is the single worst thing for anyone with a mental health problem. You've got a really unfortunate cocktail, which results in what we're seeing now, which is this shadow pandemic, the effects of which have yet to be seen.
Because there's some, it can be too easy to focus on, say, things like suicide numbers or even the level of people that are calling Lifeline, for example, which seems to have gone right through the roof. But we can't look at just those numbers, can we? We've got to get an understanding of, isolation, alcohol, even trouble sleeping, self-harm. We've got to put all those in that box, haven't we? And it's all pointing back to COVID.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that there has been an increase in mental health problems. I mean, I always feel good when I hear that the calls to Lifeline or Kids Helpline have gone up, because at least they're reaching out.
Yeah,
we've been for a long time, and I know you and I have talked about this before, stuck in a place where the emotional literacy of the Australian population, particularly blokes, was pretty low.
Yeah.
And therefore it's actually good now that we're talking about it, and it's every day in the media. And I think that there could ironically be a couple of silver linings. One is that, the other is people have really appreciated the importance of going to school, which they, I think, took for granted. People are beginning to realize how amazing our teachers are, which they also took for granted. And I also think that for a lot of people, they're now pushing the pause button a little bit more on their life. They've had to, but they've actually seen the advantages that really focusing on your diet, your sleep, your exercise. Yeah. So there are some good things that have come out of this.
That I like that. It's a good way of thinking, isn't it? Is just that we can take those things away. Generally, it's not taking things for granted, but also understanding that our mental health can become poor reasonably quickly if it's not something that we're keeping too much of an eye on. What have you, those things you would have been saying to people, what other little things have you been giving people to try and help them get from one end of the day to the other?
I think we, particularly as adults, need to set the emotional tone, which is be alert, not alarmed. This is bad, it is disappointing, but we've got this. My sort of mantra is, if in life you can't change something, you can always change the way you think about it.
Yeah.
And I've been saying to everybody, look at how awesome our medical scientists have been in coming up with a vaccine in no time at all, not just one, but 40. Not only that, but we've had just a most amazing response from our health workers, our nurses, our doctors, our hospital administrators. They've just done an amazing job. My dad always used to say to me that in a crisis, look to the helpers for inspiration. And boy, you look at our first responders, my God, they've done a good job. So that's what I'm focusing on.
We have seen those forms of leadership really jump up a bit, haven't we? How do you think, not to get too political, but how do you think we've gone with the rest of leadership all around the country? Has it been left wanting, or do you think we've generally done a good job?
Justin, I've been a little bit disappointed with the character assassination of our state and federal leaders. I think we need to give them a little bit of a break. There was no playbook for this. Nobody saw this coming. No one knew that there was going to be a Delta variant. And I think that while some of the decisions that have been made have been odd, there are a few that I really didn't like shutting down the playgrounds, because I'm a child and adolescent psychologist, and that seemed to me just
cruel. Shut the playgrounds down. Yes.
I just think that's cruel. And the skate parks and the basketball courts. And I didn't know that there was enough evidence to do that. I think that was an overabundance of caution, which is easy for me to say because I'm not a public health official. But by and large, I think there was no playbook, and it's actually quite undermining, particularly for the young people, to hear constantly a narrative of how crap our politicians are. So not helpful. By all means, have that as a conversation with adults, but I'd keep it to the adult sphere.
That's smart thinking. How are you going, mate? How are you doing?
Do you know, thank you for asking. I, every morning, go out on this deck and I do my Zoom exercise class, and I'm eating well. And, you know me, I don't drink, so that's not a problem. I'm every Friday catching up with a group of mates, and I sit round literally with my ginger ale, which I know you're fond of. And I sit out here and we talk about the end of the day. And it's kept me sane. So yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. We're lucky, you and I. We've got jobs.
That's right.
And we can keep going. It's the people who've lost their jobs I'm feeling sorry for.
Yeah. No, damn right. I absolutely agree with you, mate. So good to chat to you. It's good to see your face again. I haven't seen that face for quite a while. So it's good to see your garden looking so good and your face looking so fresh. And I wish you well for the rest of it, mate. And we're looking forward to getting out the other side.
Yeah, hopefully we'll catch up. That'd be nice.